Hey Ryan, can you hear me?
I can. Hold on one sec. All right. Can
Hi,
you
how
see
are you?
me? Doing good, doing good. Can you
Nice
hear
to
me?
meet you. I mean, nice
Nice
to
to
like
meet you too.
officially meet you.
Right.
Yeah. Um, so we're recording right away, but I'll just edit everything so that it'll go on YouTube and my podcast, and then I can share both with
Okay.
you. You know, you can have access to it. But anyway, welcome. I have been following you now for a couple months, and it's kind of nice that we had to push off our interview for like another month because I've been following you even closer this last month, and I'm like, dang, this guy loves his country and he's a fighter. So
Oh
um,
yeah.
so can you just like start off giving us kind of a little bit of a background? Like I know, and I've kind of introduced you a few times, like upcoming on my podcast, but just like a little interview of your past and what got you from, there to where you are now.
Yeah, I came from a large family down in West Central Florida. My my brother and oldest brother, Steve, already were in the military. They were Rangers. One was in the 3rd Bat, one was in the 2nd Battalion. And I decided to go military intelligence. But by the time that I actually went in the military, my oldest brother, Steve, had gotten out, gone on 2 years of school. Then went back in to be an aviator. He flew Kiowa, initially flew OH-58s, then Cobras, then Kiowas, all different kinds of aircraft for the Army. And then he was flying Kiowas by the time that I got into the military. But I joined as an intelligence analyst, as a military intelligence analyst, enlisted straight out of high school. And then at about 8 years in, I transitioned and become a Black Hawk Aviator, a warrant officer. And so we had all three of us flying at the same time. They were flying Kiowas and I was flying Blackhawks. And I pretty much followed in Aaron's footsteps as far as his success, trying to find success based off of the way he did things in the military. And he was my standard for success as far as promotion rates, whatever it may be. And then
Sure.
we were both deployed to Iraq together. He was actually a cancer survivor. He was in, let me digress on that one. He was in Somalia, the ambush in Mogadishu that Black
Yeah.
Hawk Down was made after.
Yeah.
And he was a cancer survivor, was non-deployable when our, the Operation Iraqi Freedom started. And he got a waiver to be deployed. He had to get bi-monthly blood screenings for that cancer. And he
Sure.
was a passenger in the back of a medevac helicopter on January 8th in 2004.
Okay.
He was with the 82nd Airborne. I was with the 1st Armored Division, and that Black Hawk was shot down and killed everyone on board. And we became a first-time Gold Star family.
Okay.
At that time, I had already, when I was going through flight school, I was broke, and you wouldn't think so, but I was. But I was
God works in
broke going through
mysterious
flight
ways.
school. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I started doing singing competitions and karaoke competitions because they were free. I could go and,
Sure.
or didn't cost a whole lot. I could go and entertain myself on the weekends when I wasn't studying or flying or whatever it may be in flight school. And I started winning. I
Yeah.
realized it was something that I really loved to do. And I don't have the typical story of a country music artist where, at 3 years old, they were playing guitars at fairs and, they listened to the old country music. And when I really started listening to country music when Garth was big, and I mean, he's always been big, but I mean,
Right.
when he was selling out arenas and stadiums and all that back in the 90s, that's when I really started listening to country music. Before then, I was a hair band guy, but all that, I started doing, the singing competitions then. And then when I went to Germany, was restationed to Germany, uh, did karaoke, but really didn't do any competitions, that kind of thing, and started writing when I was in Iraq. And when Aaron died, at that point, there were really no footsteps to follow in, and it was time to make my own path. And I loved performing. I loved singing. It was the first thing that I'd really found in my life. I liked doing a lot of things, but I hadn't really found a path that I loved.
Sure.
And so the music, I just decided to start chasing the stream of country music, in his honor. And I've had him in my corner ever since. It's a heck of a motivator to
Yeah.
have your brother in your corner like that. And then on December 17th in 2013, when I was already out of the military, I had already moved to Nashville. My brother-in-law, Randy Billings, was piloting a Black Hawk in Afghanistan when an IED blew the tail boom off of that. And A passenger was ejected, but he and the rest of the crew rolled down the mountain, and no one survived that crash as well, other than the passenger that was ejected. He actually survived. So,
Wow.
it's I've been chasing this dream from the club scene to the festival scene to the arenas, performing with the professional bull riders across the nation in every arena, from Madison Square Garden in New York to T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas and Golden
Yep.
One Center in Sacramento, honoring our fallen. So it's been a heck of a journey, honoring my brothers in the process.
Yeah, the how much I've seen in the past like year and a half, even like year and a half, especially 2 years, the musician world, with the support of our troops and our current and past vets. Like I said, I've become friends with Raymond Lott, the Marine rapper, and he's been on my podcast, and he wants to come up to Wisconsin too and get a freedom rally going. But same thing, he's a vet, and does a lot with veteran suicide awareness, and does like a live every day. And it's just so encouraging, because I haven't lived that. My sister-in-law spent time in Afghanistan, and I know just, and I'm really close to her, and I know just this past month, with everything that our current POTUS has done, just seeing how much it's affected her. And I mean, she's been out for a long time. She's a mother of 5, but just that sunken look on her face of what just happened, and so being there to be able to support them. And music's therapy, we know that. I'm a singer, I play piano, I play instruments. It's therapeutic, and so to have like a message behind it, I just think is so incredible. And then when I started looking into your story more, I'm like, oh my goodness, his brother and his brother-in-law, and all being aviators. And now seeing not only your professional side and your traveling and singing, but seeing how active you are on social media with supporting our country and our troops and our freedom. What kind of, I mean, when did that really start to, I guess, light a fire into you, that you got really active on media, and brave and bold, as a professional?
Well, I spent 2017, I headlined at T-Mobile Arena at the World Finals in Las Vegas, and Steven Tyler was the headliner in 2016.
Awesome.
I was in 2017, and my platform really started expanding significantly. And for me, one of the things that was the most important always was, I promised myself from the very beginning that I would never get on stage without telling Aaron and Randy's stories and about their sacrifice. And as I toured across the nation with the PBR, starting on January 4th, the last day that I saw my brother alive, I performed in Madison Square Garden in 2018 as my first show. And knowing the sacrifice of the thousands that were lost, I mean, especially, we see it again on the 20th anniversary that we just passed on 9/11. I was still serving in a different capacity for our country, and being pro-America and loving this country. That nothing had changed from previous.
Sure.
What I started seeing was that being pro-America and being patriotic all of a sudden became, you were a target of those on the left who were seeking, and it seemed as if, to destroy this country from within, and saying anything that supported the United States, wearing red, white, and blue, whatever it may be, supporting our law enforcement, first responders, and military service members, our border patrol, and that law enforcement community. I was getting attacked on a regular basis just for being patriotic. And everybody kept telling me, you're a country music artist, you need to keep your mouth shut, just stick to the stage, stick to music, all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, the insults about my music and all that stuff started coming into play. But the real jump, kind of, I would say, into the politics realm happened when I got to meet two of the Benghazi survivors, John Tigan and Mark Geist, at a volunteer jam for Charlie Daniels. And Charlie Daniels was always vocal about his political beliefs, his conservative beliefs, not just political, but his conservative beliefs. And I learned the story about Benghazi and how Americans have been left behind. Well, I looked at what happened to my brother in Somalia, and how President Bill Clinton at the time, wouldn't authorize armored vehicles to support them. the major assets that they needed to have support, and Rangers were left to essentially die at the hands of folks that they were trying to save.
Right.
Then we saw this again in Benghazi with Hillary and Obama and our current POS. I take out the T in the
I
middle.
know. I have all sorts of names. Yeah.
Yeah, clown in chief. But I got to know their story about Benghazi, and I already had a song Burn written, but it was more military focused than the movie focused. And after meeting them, I tried to see if we could get the song in the movie 13 Hours Secret Soldier Benghazi, and we couldn't do that in time. Couldn't get it done in time and mastered to get to the movie by the time they got to the editing phase of it. But I was able to get the trailer clips from the film in there, and John Tigan and Chris Tonto Peranto were both volunteered to come and be in the film, or it's going to say kind of music video. And we did a tribute to the Benghazi Four as well as my two brothers in that music video. And really, my politics started. I started getting actively involved in the political side of things on social media during the elections, because I was more at the time. I'll say out there to everyone, for any political candidate that's out there, whether it be Trump, whether it be Huckabee, whoever it is, I need to learn about the candidate before I'm going to give 100% of my support. I need to see what's going to happen. So I said as soon as Trump came down the escalator that he's going to win this. And the only reason I said that was because he knew how to appeal to the everyday American, and he also knew how to talk to the regular American the way that we want to be talked to, as opposed to the way that we're being talked to right now.
Exactly.
And Hillary had always had this elitist thing, but she left Americans to die. So my political start really was being anti-Hillary, not so much as pro-Trump. And then as I started seeing what Trump was doing for this country, the things that he was doing for our veterans, for our veteran families, my belief is that if a president is doing great things for this country, then they should be supported. If they're destroying this country, then they shouldn't be supported, and they should be criticized just the same. And I also believe that Trump should be criticized for the things that he's done that aren't necessarily the best. But having said that, that's really where I started getting into the politics thing. So essentially, getting attacked by the left just for being patriotic, which I saw, increasingly daily. Pointing out the hypocrisies and also being completely anti-Hillary. So I'm glad that she'll never be president.
I know. I was the same way, thinking back to that election in 2016, it was like, these are our candidates. Like I was, growing up in I'm 42. So like growing up, it was Home Alone and like Trump doing his show, The Apprentice and all. And then, but I was so like you, anti-Hillary, like she cannot get in, like she can. Mm-hmm. So, you voted for him and then you're like, dear God, help this country. And then, but he showed himself those 4 years, like, oh my goodness, like everything he's standing for is what I stand for. The guy's not perfect, and being a woman, I've had, and it's hard when it's like your family, you're close with family who calls themselves conservative and Christians, that all of a sudden are like, there's this division between family, and I had close family that was like, how can you even, that's just, as a woman, how can you support him? He did this and this. And I'm like, yeah, well, David did this in the Bible, and Peter denied his, like God used all these people. We all have done really bad things, but I'm like, what has he done since he's taken office? Like they can't even dig up things on him in these 4 years that he's done. So people's past is their past. I'm looking at what they're doing in their present. Nobody's saying what he's done in the past. We're not excusing any of that. We're saying, what has he done now? And everything he stood for when it came to our troops, when it came to pro-life, when it came to, you all should be able to worship as you want to worship. No, I'm not telling you to not, and then this last election happened. And ever since then, it's just been like 9, what are we at? Going on 10 months of, like, I can't even believe we're still here, like, I cannot believe this is still reality. And every day I just think, it's so black and white. It's been so black and white the whole time, but there's so many blind people. Yesterday, I just saw you post, actually it was late last night. You had reposted a passport from Nazi Germany.
Auschwitz.
Yeah, Auschwitz. And I've been to Auschwitz. When I was in college, I sang and we toured Europe, and I walked those halls. I saw the rooms of hair and the rooms of shoes and the rooms of glasses. And men and guys and girls, we were sobbing throughout that day. And it just it just took all this energy out of us. I'll never forget that. And then I've seen that from the beginning with this whole jabby passport thing going on, and people will look at you like you're such a conspiracy theorist, you're such an idiot. And every day it just gets closer and closer to showing but this is how everything starts. So you posted that last night, and I was like, I just, what are your thoughts? I've the first time I saw you speak, and actually Glenn Beck had posted it, and you're like, what, where did Glenn post that? But that's where I did see it. And being that you've been in military, I have a lot of friends and family that have been in military. What are you, I know there is some, military is also kind of seems split in some ways too. You have your, just like anything in life, you have your good and evil, right? I mean, there's in every profession, there's good and evil. But as being past military family, all the knowledge you have, what can you say to the audience about, the whole vaccine, vaccine, now you got to do it to buy, now you got to do it to sell, now you got to do it to trade. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, I guess?
Well, first and foremost, I'm pro-choice when it comes to the vaccine, when it comes to anything that you want to, pro-medical, whatever choices that you want to make. And to some folks that are completely 100% pro-life, I know that there are extenuating circumstances that can endanger a woman's life in that regard.
Sure.
So I have my opinion is a little bit more centric on that, but outside of that, but see, the thing is kind of, and I explain myself in my thoughts on that is, if we don't want to force someone to do with their body, with this, how can we justify all of the circumstances that could be a person's health determining situation or whatever it may be that could be dangerous to both them and the baby. There are so many different situations that are out there. So we can't make it, like you said, a black and white situation every single time in that regard.
Right.
And it really takes the foundation out from underneath our argument of mandating vaccines or not wanting vaccines mandated. If we can't say, okay, well, we are pushing for pro-choice in this regard, but you are 100% saying that a woman and under certain circumstances wouldn't need to do something to protect her and her baby's life when they know that is, both of them together, I guess we're just supposed to tell someone to sacrifice their life, in that regard. And, we can go on for days about that. But the bottom line, when it comes to the mandates, vaccine mandates, and, I may lose a bunch of fans in what I just said, but it is the reality behind it. I mean, outside of that, the vaccine mandates, I have family and friends that decided to get the vaccine. I don't ever tell anybody whether I've got the vaccine or not, because I like having the discussion with folks. I do tell people that I had COVID already, and I do have natural immunity, and I still have antibodies from it. I'll tell, but the thing is, I don't tell people which of my family members have the vaccine and which don't. And I also don't tell people if I've got the vaccine or if I don't, because it's nobody's business. No. It really is. But I feel it's my choice to be able to do that. And when we're starting to see so many things come out, I'll be posting some VAERS information out there, ADRs. I posted the website on for the WHO. I think it's DigiAccess, something like that, Gibby Access, that talks about the ADRs to the vaccine across the world. And I just saw the FDA presentation that was made to the FDA about these boosters from the scientists and the doctors out there that are all saying what's happening with these vaccines. Someone just sent it to me, multiple slideshow presentations from different folks.
Yep. I got
that are showing the VAERS reporting and the difference in between previous vaccinations in the last 10 years and the number of ADRs that are happening from just this vaccine, since it's come out, or the vaccines since they've come out. and things that are killing people and things that are destroying people's lives, and nobody is paying attention to that. And the thing that bothers me the most is this, and I'm sure that there are a lot of folks out there that will agree 100% with this. Why is it that medical doctors that are out there that have multiple methods to treat every other thing that we've got going on with our body, multiple methods to do that, why is just one method the only right method now?
Yep.
Why is just one method the only thing that's being pushed by the mainstream media, by the government, and it's being mandated in a lot of circumstances? But why is just one method the only method out there? It doesn't make any medical or scientific sense to say to a doctor who could be using therapeutics, could be using different things that are working, and then they say that they're working and they're shut down. So a medical doctor, the reason why they get into doing what they're doing is to help people, but then when they find something that is helping people, it's getting shut down. And why are we rushing through this process? Why is it that every single person out there feels that something that is proven already to not be able to stop the spread of the virus, the only thing that it's been shown to do is to mitigate the symptoms and the infection, the severity of infection? It's been shown to do that. I will tell you right now, I've got friends in the medical field that every single one of them are saying, yes, it is working to mitigate those symptoms. And I trust them. I trust them. They're seeing it firsthand. So if I want to choose to take that risk for myself, what is different from that and me saying I want to eat 15 hamburgers in a week and give myself heart disease, the number one killer of Americans still.
Heart disease,
Number one, heart disease is still the number one. Cardiovascular disease is still the number one killer of Americans. If I choose to eat 15 hamburgers a week or a day or whatever it is I decide to do to cause myself heart disease, I don't hear anyone saying anything about that. No. What's overwhelming the hospitals right now? You're saying that COVID is overwhelming the hospitals, but still the number one killer is cardiovascular disease, but nobody's saying anything about McDonald's. Nobody's saying anything about fast food restaurants. Nobody's saying anything about that. So to me, as far as I know, I'm going off on a long one here, but there's so many opinions that are out there right now. But the bottom line is this: if I choose to jump out of an airplane because I love to skydive, I'm the one that's risking my own life. And no one thinks about the medical workers that have to respond to that because I decided to jump out of an aircraft and my parachute didn't work. How can we on one hand rationalize that this is the way that things should be done, but it's completely the opposite and it not supported when this is even worse of a cause of death or a cause of disease in this country? I don't know.
Right. I've been saying that from the beginning, even back, I've talked to elderly people who lived through polio, and people were scared during polio. People, they remember, like, if they had polio in their house, they had to quarantine because it was in their house, and the doctor gave them a sign they had to put on their door that said they were quarantined. And then they went back to the doctor when they were better, and then they got to take their quarantine, but they weren't quarantined healthy people. People weren't getting their businesses shut down. Sure, there were some scared people that didn't do as much, maybe kids weren't going swimming as much because the parents didn't want their kids to get polio. But it wasn't this, people weren't turning on each other and they weren't shutting down the world. And they weren't, saying, if you don't do this, we're going to not let you travel, or we're not going to let you do this. You have to earn your freedom now. And then on the flip side, now we're here and no other shot do they act like that. We've always had exemptions. We've always had religious, medical, and conscientious exemptions in this world. Every state's a little different, but we've always had that. They don't offer that to you, but if you do your research, you can have different exemptions for all the different shots out there. Every year there's influenza, and every year your doctor will say, did you get your flu shot? And if you're someone that gets your flu shot, you get it. And if you're someone that never has, you say, no, I don't get it. And they're like, okay. And that's it. That's how it goes on. They may give you, and now I've never seen them sweat so hard and panic so hard to like, oh, now we got to put this on them. And, Biden, now we have to treat them like little babies and everything they're doing. And I've had COVID. My whole family has COVID. We have 4 kids. We have college down to 8-year-old. We've all had it. And for most of us, it was mild. I mean, way mild than any influenza I've ever had. We all had different symptoms. I lost my taste and smell for 3 weeks. All my kids lost taste and smell. My college son, his was gone for months, but never that sick. And my husband felt icky for a day. But we found out later, like this was April of 2020. So March 2020, everything, we got shut down, whatever. April 2020, both my boys at the time were in high school still. And they both came to me the same day, said, Mom, look at my toes. And each of their feet on the same toe on each foot had that circulation issue, where they call COVID toes now. It's like your toe just turns like purple. And I was like, well, what'd you do? Did you stub it? No. Did you get new shoes? No. But they both had it. And at the time I had no idea. And they had a cold. So technically we think we've had it twice, because that was April 2020. And then November 2020, my son's football team all got shut down because they all had it, just mild symptoms, testing positive. And that's when our whole family got it. But my point is, so we've had it maybe even twice, or, lingering symptoms. And that's what I choose to have for my family. I know I experienced it. I know it can be different for everybody, and I'm not downplaying that. But now you're telling me that I, on top of that, still have to get this shot, which I personally have ethical issues with. But second of all, if I'm not spreading anything without getting it, it's the same way both ways. It's just mitigating symptoms. I'm going to choose to go with what I've already known we went through. And for us, that was mild. Could it be? So for them to tell you that you have to do this, you don't get a choice to say, no, I'd rather go through the symptoms and just deal with it, versus, well, this could make your symptoms less. Well, great. I don't want it. I've already had it. That's bizarre to me. That's so anything our country stands on. And I have a friend that's in the Army right now, and he's supposed to get out in April. He'll be done. And he's told that if he doesn't have his shot by December, he gets court-martialed. Yep. And he doesn't want it, because he's done a lot of research on it and he has had friends and family affected. But what does he do? Like he wants to leave the military with an honorable leave. Right. And so this is just a fight that we can't get. I know for me, it gets exhausting, but like, we can't let up,
Right. Well, I'm getting dozens of messages a week. I mean, dozens from our military service members and their spouses about, I just got a message this morning, and it's a military spouse. And she said that her husband's been in for 19 years. He's in the Marine Corps. He's almost on his way out, and he has multiple combat tours, multiple symptoms from PTS, from burn pit exposure, from all these different things. And based off of the ADRs that are happening with these vaccines, there's so many things that that if they take this vaccine, that could exacerbate those symptoms or those problems that they already have. And the worst part of it all is, okay, so they're going to exacerbate these symptoms, potentially make them worse. But you're telling someone who has served for 19 years and has been in combat multiple times over and over and over again, that if they don't get the vaccine before they get out, a year before they get out, that they're going to lose all of their VA benefits, that they're going to lose. I mean, a lot of folks don't realize that if you get out with an other than honorable or dishonorable discharge, you could lose all your VA benefits. So everything that he's fought for the last 19 years, this is just one example. But here's the problem. The problem is that this is going on, but the biggest problem is that, I could probably tell you at least 30 people have messaged me and said, what am I supposed to do? And I just posted on my Instagram wall, there's a lawyer that's putting a case together but he needs to get a couple more clients on board to be able to do it. I don't know what the extent of the case is, but he's looking for military service members that are being forced to do this. Not one of them has been willing to pull the trigger to give me information that I can post and say, here is, someone got sent some paperwork, and it was, that it didn't really say that this, they're threatening vocally that we're going to be, court-martialing you, this kind of stuff, but the paperwork he sent me didn't say that. And then, I asked for they're like, they're getting emails, I said, I gotta have something in writing. I gotta have something that came from your chain of command, or something that says that this is what's happening to you, because then it's just your word against the Marine Corps. And that's not going to go, it's just not going to go very far. I try to post stuff that has some has a strong factual foundation to it to be able to support what's going on. And trust me, it breaks my heart every time I hear these stories. I mean, I retired with almost 21 years on active duty.
Yeah.
My military retirement, has been a godsend. My TRICARE, my TRICARE Prime that I can have for my family at a super cheap cost. That's an incredible insurance. All those things are.
Oh, you cut out there for a second. Can you hear
Uh-oh.
me? Oh, I think you're good again. Go ahead.
Hold on, I don't know why my ears just disconnected.
You're good though now.
Do I sound clear?
Yeah, you sound clear. It was
Okay.
just
My ears
silent for a second.
randomly just disconnected. I don't know why. That is so weird.
Technology.
All right. So now I'm actually not talking in my ears anymore. I'm talking to you through my phone.
Okay.
You'll be able to edit
Sound
that.
good.
But
Sound good. Yeah.
sorry about that. That
No,
is
it's
so
okay.
weird.
A few seconds.
I had not had them disconnect yet, but all right. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, you're good. Yep.
All right. I know there's probably a little bit of an echo, but anyway, I mean, I'm seeing so many of these folks that are, about to lose everything. And, then you have the younger junior enlisted folks, which don't make a whole lot of money, who don't make a whole lot of money in the military. And they're saying, to them and their spouses, you've got 4 years in and you're planning on making a career out of this. Well, you either get this vaccine or this is why I don't have, am I back on?
You're back on.
This is why I do not have, I put my phone on airplane mode. If somebody calls in the middle of it, I'm gonna get the meeting, everything, but. So
It's usually on
I'm
my
gonna go
end.
off on a tangent here. I'm gonna go off on a tangent. So I was supposed to be on Newsmax, right?
Oh, yeah, awesome.
I was on Newsmax like three times 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I was supposed to be on there on Saturday on 9/11.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, the link that I was on, or the link that they sent me wasn't working. So like you sent me the Zoom link, it
Yep.
wasn't working.
Sure.
And anyway, so I said, I put my phone on airplane mode. Well, they're sending me text messages
Sure.
because I don't want the meeting to be, interrupted like it just was interrupted. And,
Yeah.
and they say, well, we got to figure out how we can keep from interrupting the meeting. Well, I don't know how to do that on my phone if it's through Zoom. So I'm gonna have to figure. All right, back to what I was saying.
No, I've had the same issue.
Yeah. So what can we do for our military service members that are that are seeing all of this, that this is happening to? It's completely unethical. It's complete. The ADRs are just coming out and mounting up right now. You have so many people across the nation, but it's all being ignored. Why? I mean, I feel that this administration, this clown in chief,
Yep.
has turned his back on our heroes. He's turned his back on his own military service members. They have Milley up there who should be tried for treason and court-martialed himself. That's never going to happen because it would have to come from the president. So we know that, everybody out there is so frustrated, but what can we do about it? I'm just staying loud. I'm just staying loud. And that's all that I can do is be, a voice for those who can't speak and try to be as loud as I possibly can. So maybe there's somebody that's out there that can make a decision. We'll see what I have to say and make the right decision to do the right thing. Or if there are people out there that are supporting what's happening, they listen to what I'm saying and they see that it's being presented with facts. It's being presented, the reality is being presented, and I could change their mind to do what's right in that regard as well.
Yep. Well, I probably, we probably all have our own thoughts and opinions on things. And I know that a lot of people I don't even express everything I truly think to even my closest friends and family, other than the people I know that think the same way I do. But ironically, the people that think the same way I do are the ones that do a ton of research, like we're always trying to learn. And, I feel like what you're doing, even like Nicki Minaj coming out this week, like, I don't know what's going on there. That's not my, I've never really been a fan, but I'm like, hey, something's going on. Now, is it another distraction? I don't know. But what I do know is that, I've actually had people, I've had someone very close to me once when I would send them an article, and they'd say, and I think a lot of it's fear. Like they just don't want to think that this could possibly be going on because it is so bizarre and horrible. And if you've been somebody that has seen a lot in your life and kind of just have known about these things for a while, it still sucks. But it's like, if you're completely naive and then this all comes, crashing down on you, it's overwhelming. I mean, that's like a psychologist will say that there's a term for it. But I actually had someone tell me once, very angry, do not ever send me an article again that does not come from ABC, NBC, or CNN, or any other major news outlet, because I used to work in news and broadcasting, and we know that has been fact checked and that is all factual. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I think to myself, okay, these are all, no offense to a lot of the newscasters out there and news people that truly love their job and love what they're doing, but most of them are given scripts daily, like that from big paid companies that they get to sit and read, and a lot of that they don't really have any interest in, And then there's people like you and I and millions of other people out there that truly care about our country and what's going on. And so we spend all this time learning, or we've experienced it. Like you are military, you've lived that, you've experienced it. So you're telling your story, you're telling what you know, you're telling what you've seen, experienced. And I think that that's kind of how we have to start switching our idea about news, is not just sitting in front of CBS and listening to what those people have been paid to tell you, but actually listening to people who are seeing what's going on and have been there. And it might be really hard to understand and accept, but if we want to turn the tides on how our country is being controlled, I think being loud is really our only option at this point. And people are starting to wake up. I just hope it's fast enough that we can save, what this country has been fought for. And boy, I don't know. Maybe you can just really briefly speak to, like, so I talked about that Nazi passport, and then I kind of went off on it. Maybe nobody even has a clue what I'm talking about, but can you tell the people what it was actual from, Auschwitz, Nazi Germany, and what it was, why that person needed it, and how it kind of parallels to what's going on?
Well, they started off by saying that the Jews carried diseases, and they were disease, and it was a specific part of the population. And now, they've made this a conservative and liberal thing, and it's you notice that you don't have. It became it's become political to where it's a conservative. The conservatives are the ones that don't want to get unvaccinated or don't want to get vaccinated. It's not a bipartisan thing, which is not necessarily true, because you have so many people out there that it's not a Trump thing. It's not a Pelosi thing. It's not a Biden thing. It's an American thing, and the freedom to choose that. And they were essentially, that was the way to create fear across the population and that's when you started having Germans turning in their fellow German, because they were scared that they were going to get some disease, and that, because it was propaganda that was being spread around. And of course, everybody then said, it's okay. I don't want to hurt my fellow man. So I'm going to, go ahead and do this and whatever. And it was just, it was a slow, it was not an instant thing.
No.
It was a slow, methodical rise to power. And, and look what ended up happening. And we're seeing it. If you could go step by step in this country, with what happened then and what's happening now, and see the exact same steps are happening. The BLM riots, the Antifa riots. I mean, all these different things, you could go and look at almost lock, step, and barrel. You see see what's happening in this country across. And I had to post that one but the last time I posted something like this, which was quite some time ago, it got banned by Instagram. I got
exactly. I almost shared it, but I'm already on their crap list again right now. And totally, my statistics are so bad right now. But so just the word Nazi, I got banned once on Facebook for posting a C.S. Lewis quote. And I got banned on Facebook once for posting a quote about Adolf Hitler. It was completely true. There was nothing violent in the picture. It was something he said.
I did the same thing.
And I was like, this is history. I was a history major. This stuff happened. There's, but yet I've reported 2 pedophilia groups on Facebook that people have made me aware of.
Oh, yeah.
And gotten response back from Facebook. Thanks for letting us know about this. Even though it doesn't go against our community standards, you can always block them if it offends you. And I'm like, I'm not in the group, they're not harassing me. I'm letting you know there's a pedophilia group with 1,000 members in it, a
Yeah.
private group labeled. And you're saying this doesn't go against your community standards, but you're
Of course it
banning C.S. Lewis. And yeah, back to the passport thing, it wasn't just Jews, but it was gypsies, it was special needs people, it was, there were other people, that were also in the concentration camps, majority Jews, yes, but, and look at how people are treating people now, not everyone, because there's many people that have had the vaccine that are level-headed, my parents had it, and my mom's a nurse, and I respect that. But she also believes what's going on is insane. She can't believe nurses and doctors are being threatened this way. And if this was truly a pandemic, nobody would be firing any health professional. You would be taking any volunteer to help in a pandemic. So they are completely against all that. But then you do have the people that are absolutely crazy. And they have said things like, you shouldn't treat people that come into the hospital if they haven't had the vaccine.
I posted a video on that. I don't know if you saw that on my wall.
Yeah, I did.
A friend of mine with the head of respiratory therapy.
Yes.
He posted about Jimmy Kimmel saying something stupid like that.
Yes.
Or Don Lemon, and they're just they're propaganda spreaders. They're out there to spread propaganda. That's what they're there to. They're part of the separation mechanism in this country, the divisive mechanism, and it's a complete projection from the left as to what we see every single day. It's it's straight up projection.
Yeah.
Everything that they said that Trump was going to be, Biden has become, and no one's saying a word about it. I always call them lemmings, and they're following him off a cliff as they're screaming all the way down before they die. It was all Trump's fault.
Exactly. It's psychotic. I call it orange man bad syndrome. Like those people that voted for Biden, that they hated that other man so much. There's psychological, because to have that kind of a psychological hate to make a choice like that is crazy. But I'm like, okay, then you had orange man bad syndrome. Everything was him. It doesn't matter. Everything is him. Biden, you could see him doing inappropriate things, which are inappropriate. I'm sorry. Even psychologists are saying that kind of behavior shows, and I'll just be careful here because I'm online, but like, that's very concerning behavior with people that aren't your kids, aren't your grandkids. We have 4 kids. My husband hugs and loves on our kids, but like, he wouldn't even do that stuff. Like, yeah, but he wouldn't even do some of that. Like, some of that is just, what are you doing? But you would say something like that, and they're like, well, that's because Trump. There's no logical thinking left. And what health emergency care person on the scene of an accident would come up to the car and see that somebody who wasn't wearing their seatbelt, oh, I'm not going to help him. He wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Who would ever do that? Seatbelt wearing is a law, sure. But nobody's going to not help somebody because they weren't. So this is insane talk. And then to see people and to hear, I've heard nurses that are on that side of the spectrum saying, or patients. I saw a patient once say, if I was in the hospital and I found out my nurse wasn't vaccinated, I would demand she leave and I would not let her touch me. I'm like, really? If you were dying and couldn't breathe, you wouldn't let, it's insane. And I think like you said, all we can keep doing is being loud and using our voice, and you're doing that. And I really have a ton of respect for you. I went about a month ago. I told you I went to Phil Vassar concert. He was supposed to be here a year and a half ago in Manitowoc, just a little private civic center theater. It's a very intimate little setting, got canceled because of COVID. But then he came back, and then Derek Jones was his opener. And he said he's done some stuff with Charlie Daniels too, but he also is pretty patriotic, not as vocal as you, but I'm hoping he gets there. But he wrote a song too, about his brother in a different perspective, more of a suicide light. But that concert was had a nice undertone of patriotism too. And I think that's just what we need more, is more of these freedom rallies and concerts that are just not talking about candidates, not talking about, just talking about freedom and getting that, again, that fire lit under people. Like, do you realize how blessed we are to be here?
Oh, yeah.
Like, we really don't, even, because none of us have ever had to live and were born under a communist or Marxist type of, but if you just look in history and I don't know. It's just so frustrating to me, but I'm just so grateful that you're out there doing what you're doing, and I'm sharing your work everywhere. And you're awesome. You're awesomely talented too. So it's not just like you're great at what you're saying, but do you have anything like in the next, I don't know, 6 months coming up that, even, so I'm in the Midwest. I mean, do you have anything Midwest wise, but like even the next six months, what do you got going on that's kind of big?
So right now we got a single that's out called No Second Chance.
Okay.
And we're about to release the music video on No Second Chance.
Awesome.
Super proud of that project. It's with a great friend of mine who is dual cancer survivor, cancer in his tonsils and his lymph nodes, and survived both of those. He actually has feeding tube taken out just a couple days before we shot the music video, and then he had to go in a couple days after we shot the music video to have his lymph nodes removed. But he's a fighter, and his life is an amazing story of overcoming the odds. But No Second Chance is out there on every media outlet that you can get, but the music video will be out shortly.
Awesome.
And we're also going to be releasing a brand new single and a brand new music video called Let's Talk About Heroes. And the music video is going to be released the weekend before Veterans Day, and the song will be live on Veterans Day. But we are going to release the pre-sale link on that shortly as well.
Okay.
The pre-sale, a lot of folks don't realize, but on pre-sale for iTunes and Amazon Music, all of the sales during the pre-sale count on the day that the song drops.
Okay.
So on Veterans Day, all of the sales of the song prior to that will drop on Veterans Day. And what does that mean for me as an artist? As an independent artist, I don't have the millions to put behind a song for promotion, to get out there to radio and all that kind of stuff. It takes a lot of money on promotion to get a song out there. But we have the capabilities of charting and getting on the top 40 charts like the Marine Rapper and those guys are doing, to get up on the charts, because our fans can buy the music ahead of time.
Sure.
And it all counts on one day, and then you can continue to buy afterwards, and then it can keep climbing the charts. So it counts towards one day of sales, which a lot of folks, if we have 10,000 sales in one day, it's going to chart on iTunes and Amazon Music, and hopefully the Billboard charts as well.
Awesome.
So once we get that pre-sale link out there, it'll be a great thing if everybody could go pre-save, for that Spotify, or not Spotify, but Amazon and iTunes. That'd be great. But No Second Chance is out right now. We need comments on the song. We need digital downloads. Folks don't realize, but on Spotify, I mean, nothing wrong with the platform, but an artist gets paid 0.007 cents a stream on Spotify. If you download my song that I wrote and paid for, that I wrote and paid for the recordings on, if you download the song, I get 60% from iTunes of the cost of the song. So that's what helps us pay our bills, along with the shows. And of course, having it chart up there with all the major artists, when independent artists need the support directly from the fans in that regard. Would be an amazing thing that helps out with shows, and shows are really what are making us a living. Of course, that living was taken away in 2020. So we're all trying to recover from that right now. But I know patriotic fans out there are incredibly loyal to patriotic artists and, support. I've been able to do what I've been able to do without a formal management contract, without a formal record deal. All of those things have been outside the box in Nashville, and my background and the fans that follow my music are the big, the big proponents of that.
Yeah. And, I'm like 100% confident that you're going to soar because of what you just said, just like Raymond too, TMR, same thing. Like he doesn't have an agent. He does everything. He's like, nope, I book through me, send me the content, and I'm like, how do you do that? Like, I can barely run my business without help. But because there's the passion, there's the experience, there's the knowledge, and there's the talent, I mean, I've shifted so much in everything this past year and a half. Like there's places I will not buy anymore. And people are like, oh, well, you can't just not shop place. I'm like, I get that, but I am consciously choosing now, like USA, like I am buying everything I can USA. Music. I'm like, I just, first of all, most of the biggest stuff up there is crap anyway. I mean, let's just be honest. Like the lyrics are usually crap, or they don't make sense, or they're belittling people, or,
Right.
It's like, it's so like, stop listening to it, like you should see my playlist now. It's people like you and TMR and Topher and Bryson and all these people that are fighting for, we need to get those names need to start taking over what for decades have been that paid, that evil world, and I know a lot of them didn't start into that mindset. You know, they didn't go into it thinking I'm gonna screw my country over and be evil, but eventually you just kind of get bought and sold out to do what you're told. And so you are the kind of people that we just need to keep sharing. And Black Hawk Down is one of my favorite movies. I think I'm gonna have to go watch it again. Thank you so much. One thing I'm going to ask you though, is I found out, I mean, my sister-in-law served again, but like, you know, I used to always say, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. And I know there's some veterans that really appreciate that. And then there's some that don't as much. So I guess I've just always kind of encouraged people to, every vet you meet, talk to them, get to know them. Ask them about themselves, have conversations with them, ask them about their past, what maybe they want to share a ton, maybe they don't want to share a lot, but it kind of got to be a canned thing. I think sometimes we're like, thank you for your service. And I don't think that people don't mean it. I just think sometimes this is another reason why I want to have that conversation with you too. And we didn't even really get to talk a ton about your service, but I just do appreciate you and appreciate what you're doing, and God bless you. And I'll get all that in the show notes, and thank you so much.
I appreciate you bringing me on.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Take care.
All right, you too.
Okay. Bye.